So I have been working on a project which front end is Next.js and backend was Strapi. But when it comes to deployment, I always struggle to deploy this application for free. So I have tried it with Heroku, but after a while, Heroku started charging. Also, I tried with Render, a service called Render. That is also started charging after a while. So I have been doing a research on how to make it entirely free forever. So especially we are working on a MVP project or any kind of hobby project, this deployment stack is going to be so helpful. So I am going to show you how to do that. So I'm gonna create a Strapi project, also an Next.js project, and I'm gonna host the Strapi in Render, and I'm going to create a database in Supabase and use this database in the Render. So earlier I was using the database from Render itself, but after a while it got terminated because I didn't make any payment. So let's create a Strapi project first. Let me open the terminal here. Yeah. So this is my project folder. Let me go to Strapi and I'm going to create a Strapi project. It should create a Strapi project. I would name it as Strapi backend. Let it create. Also, in another terminal, I would create a Next.js project. So if I go to Next.js application, let me copy this and we go here. So let it create Strapi and Next.js. Let it install, kickstart. Okay, when these projects are installing, I will go to Supabase and create a database here. So the reason I choose the Supabase is because it's open source database. It's kind of free forever. So let me create a Supabase. So I'm gonna name this Supabase DB. Generate password. I will keep it somewhere here. DB password. Now we have the database in place and we have all the necessary variables available here, which we need to add in Render when we deploy the Strapi application, so that Strapi application is connected to the Supabase database. It looks like both our applications are installed. So this one is Strapi. Strapi seems to be installed successfully and running successfully. Next.js is also created. So I'm going to open these two projects in VS Code. Let me open the Strapi backend first and npm run develop. I believe that's the command to run the Strapi application. Also, I will open the Next.js project here. We are on Next.js folder. npm run dev. Starting. Let me look at the environment file. So these environment file variables are required, while hosting the Strapi on Render. So we have to configure these. Also, we need PostgreSQL. So we need to install PG. But let's make sure that the application is running as expected. After that, we will install PG. Okay, so wasn't able to start properly. The port 1337 is already used by another application. Oh, it's already running in another window. Now it should be fine. Yeah. So let me bring that here. So I'm just setting up my email ID and testet123 password using testet123. So we have the Strapi application running as expected. Now let's check out the Next.js. It looks like this one is also running because I don't see any kind of error here. Yep, so it looks like our Next.js application is also running as expected. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we will install PG. So, and npm. Just want to find out command for installing pg. Postgres install via npm. I just found the command to install pg Postgres for this is node Postgres, so we need this for Supabase. So let me install that in Strapi. Open another terminal here, npm install pg. In the meantime, let me take a look at the database. So the pg is installed successfully. Now let's go to the database.js here. So here we have to update the database variable with the one that we created in the Supabase. So let's start updating that first. So let me go to the Supabase, and if I go to the Supabase DB settings, I hope I can find those variables from here. I guess I'm just trying to find that variables. So we have the database variables here. So the host should be db dot whatever it is. I just updated it with a working version. Here this is the configuration database.js file that we need to have. I will update it from here. So we don't need the connection string at all. We need the host. Database is 5432, port name is 5432, database name Postgres, username Postgres, and database password again. So basically what I did was I had a working version of the database.js file. I got confused with a lot of database here. So I just replaced this file. I can share this video in the video description, or you can access it from the GitHub. I will make it public so that you can access it from there also. Now we have the database.js ready. Now let's update the same in file also. Okay, now let's push this to a GitHub repo. Okay, so I need to create a repo in my GitHub and push all these changes to that repo so that I can connect it with Render. When deploying, I can access it from my GitHub repo. So let me go to my GitHub account and create a new repo for the Strapi backend. So this is my GitHub. Just creating a new repository. Strapi P will make it public. Create repository. So I'm gonna add this to Strapi BE and git branch main fix project. Okay, git push origin main. Okay, now the code should be available in the GitHub. Let me refresh. Yeah, we have the base project. Now if I go to render, let me create a new web service from Git repository. So here it is showing up the latest push. I'm connecting it from here and naming it as Strapi backend. Leave everything. I'm gonna choose free. Create web service. Yeah, web service is ready and it is trying to deploy, but definitely we have to upgrade the environment variables. So I have an existing web service. Let's take an example of my existing portfolio web service. So what are all the variables that we need? I will simply add it here. API token salt, and we have to do it from here. API token salt, which is this value. Add another variable which is app keys. We need database host which we can find from here. We need database name Postgres. We need database password, port, and SSL. Database password which is this. We have database port, I believe it is 5432. We have database SSL, which is, and I would say database username, which is, now we have JWT secret. I believe that can be found from our env file. It might have retriggered a lot. Whenever a variable changes, it retrigger the build. But yeah, this should be the last one. Now let's wait for the deployment. If everything is working as expected, then we will be able to access this URL, and we will be able to create an account or create users or whatever the data that we wanted to, and it will appear in the database here. So let's wait for that to build, and in the meantime, let's create another repo for the Next.js project. So I'm gonna create a new Next.js project repository. I'm gonna name it as Next.js. Gonna create it as public create repository. Yeah, so we'll push this existing Next.js project to this newly created repo. So I'm gonna Next.js project. Let's wait that it got created a master project. Git branch -m git push origin. I assume this is still running. npm rundev. Yeah, in the meantime, let's go to the render and check whether so it looks like our deployment have failed, and the deployment log says missing out.secret. Please set out.secret in config/admin.js. So if I go to the Strapi admin.js, we have admin jwt secret, which is from environment file, API token salt, and transfer token salt. So let's do one thing. Let's try adding these in our environment file. Is secret. This was not required in my previous projects, but let's try. We have one more, transfer token salt. So admin jwt secret and transfer token salt. Yeah. Okay, this will trigger another deployment. So it looks like new deployment has triggered. So let's wait. In the meantime, let's see what's happening with our Next.js application. So yeah, it is running as expected. So the idea is to create some data in the Strapi and try to fetch it here. Fetch the data from Strapi and display it in the front end. So let's try to get rid of this default page. So if I go to the src/app/page.js, yeah, this is the default page. I will try to get rid of these things and say hello world, hello Next.js. I would say Next.js. Let's have a look at the deployment. It started. Seems it's still running. So after updating those variables, it looks like our application has been deployed successfully. So let's go to this URL, and yeah, it looks like the application has been successfully deployed. And I'm going to create this username again, capital test at 123. We want to create a sample content so that we can fetch this content in the Next.js frontend and display it in the Next.js. So I will start with creating a bunch of users, and let's see if we can expose that via an API. So username, let's start with John at gmail.com, test 123, confirmed, true, must have a role, public user, create another user, to create one more user. Yeah, now we have a bunch of users, John Doe Smith. Now let's see if we can access this via an API. So for that, let me go to this roles, users, permission, users, and type, users. Yeah, I'm making all the users public. So save. So public can access these users. So it's saved, and if I try to access this via API /users, it should return a yes, age is an object with all the available users. Now the Strapi is hosted successfully. We created some users and we are exposing those users via an API. Now we can consume this API in our Next.js project to display this information. So before that, we need to make sure that the Next.js is hosted in Netlify. So for that, we have pushed all our base components to the GitHub. Now let's go to Netlify and create a new project in Netlify and deploy this Next.js in Netlify. So let's go to Netlify, create new website, add new site, import an existing project from deploy with GitHub, authorized. Now we have Next.js. Okay, the deployment has started. Okay, so it looks like our Next.js application has been successfully deployed. Let's make sure that, so in the middle we have got rid of this default content and we were displaying that hello Next.js. So let's make sure that that is also deployed. So ideally, whenever we make a push to the repo, the deployment should trigger automatically and we should see that hello Next.js. So let's make sure that that is also available. Git status, this array or git status, git add, git commit, remove default content, git push origin main. So it should automatically trigger the deployment. Yeah, so the deployment is building. In the meantime, let's try to implement that API integration. I will go with a simple data fetch. So I'm gonna use this particular piece of code. Let me go to the Next.js project and I'm going to paste it right here. This is the component I'm going to get rid of. For that, I will copy paste this function invocation here and let me get rid of this here. So since we are using a void, make sure the function is an async. And now we need to update this API URL with our Strapi one. Now let's try consoling this data. So yeah, we have the data here. It's printing right here. Now we need to render this. We will map through the data.map. It's basically a user and we will return a p tag with user dot should be in curly braces, user dot username, basically the username. Now we have the username here, so I'm trying to print the username here. So basically the API works fine because we are getting the data here. We need to make sure that it's printing in the page. So let's see that here. Yes, John Smith and Doe. If you want, I can print the email also. User email. So yeah, we have the data from Strapi. We are able to successfully fetch those data and print it in the application. So if I try adding another user here, maybe Mark or Jenny at gmail.com, password confirmed, role public user, save. It should appear here. Jenny is appearing here. Yeah, Jenny is here. So yeah, now let's try to deploy this in Netlify. We have already deployed it, but we will deploy the latest code also. Git status, fetch the data from Strapi. So this latest commit should trigger the deployment in Netlify. So we have already deployed it here and we have updated that to hello Next.js. We have got rid of all the default content from the Next.js and we have the hello Next.js. And once this deployment is completed, we should be able to see all the data that we fetched from the Strapi. So let's wait for that. in the meantime, I think we have successfully able to create a database in Supabase, deploy Strapi in Render, and deploy Next.js in Netlify. So we have a fully fledged application deployed and served for free. So that was the whole idea of this video. Hope you guys found it useful, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Yeah, so by the way, it's published and we have the latest data here. So thanks again. See you in the next video. Bye.